Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new day of WCS America action. Today it's time for Group E on Wednesday the 28th of May in 2014. I'm of course Ken van der Kooi, also known as Rotterdam, and with me is still Nathan Fabricant, Nathanius TV. Nathanius TV, I am so happy that you did not leave me yet.
I could never leave you, Roddy. We've had too much fun times together. It's been awesome casting out here in California for you guys. We have a sick group today. We've had a lot of awesome games so far in the round of 32. Lots of players already going forward. Lots of players getting knocked down, as you guys can see. We just wrapped up Group D yesterday.
Exactly, Nate. It really feels like it's getting more fun every single day. You know, the first week was still a little rocky. We had a couple of one-sided games, but I feel especially Group C and D have provided us with a lot of entertainment. And look at the trend as well. Every single day so far, one Premier League player is advancing and one Premier League player has been eliminated. If that happens today, that means that either HyuN or Hard is not going to make it out of this group. And that is very possible, of course, because look at those other two players, and of course look at the next three groups as well. We will be bringing you all that StarCraft 2 action next week. But for today, Nate, all eyes are going to be on Group E, as Group E looks pretty damn intense.
Yeah, this is one of the groups when people were talking about our four players, the group of death, as it were. You guys can see our first match that we're going to have HyuN versus Jim, some Zerg versus Protoss action with our Season 1 WCS America champion. Following that, we'll have Terran versus Zerg, Hart up against Jadong, one of the fan favorites that was eliminated in the round of 32 last season.
Yeah, and Hart looked really good as well last season in WCS America. This is a group of death, but as silly as it sounds, because normally in a group of death, I guess you're not supposed to have favorites. I still have two clear favorites. I think that if either HyuN or Jadong doesn't make it out of this group, that will still get people talking the most, no matter how good of a player Hart is or how much I love Jim, and I know quite some other people out there love Jim as well. I think it's safe to say that HyuN and Jadong are the favorite, because HyuN, we can start talking about him, and of course we want to hear what you guys have to say about HyuN over the Twitter universe. Hashtag WCS. Keep the tweets coming throughout the entire broadcast, not just for HyuN and Jadong or for HyuN versus Jim, but just for the entire day. But Nate, we can talk about HyuN, I think, for days. HyuN, this guy, every single tournament that he enters, and he enters a lot of tournaments. It's not like he's like, should I play this tournament? It's like, no, any given moment, if there is a StarCraft competition somewhere, HyuN is part of it the majority of the time, and he's been doing pretty damn well in most of them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any tournaments I've seen that he hasn't at least tried to qualify or play in, unless they may be taking place on the same weekend. And even then, HyuN's still the kind of guy that might try. The last cup I saw him playing was the Fragbite Masters I did in Sweden earlier this month, and he was able to take that. He does not stop. He is a machine. He is a monster when it comes to playing StarCraft.
Yeah, he really is. And of course, guys, we want to encourage all of you to join in our fantasy league as well. I have finally created my team this morning. I was very disappointed when I realized I could only pick one HyuN, as I wanted to pick two Letuts. But once again, guys, head over to fantasy.eslgaming.com/sc to create your fantasy team. Still possible for the round of 16 for Europe and America, as we haven't started yet. Of course, the GSL kicked off last night. We don't want to talk about the results too much, as we don't want to spoil things. But yeah, I made my team. You want to hear my team?
Who's on your team?
Want to know my team? All right, for America, I picked Bomber and Czech.
Okay.
This is solid.
Yeah, I got Bomber. I mean,
yeah, I think it's good. And for Europe, I went with Sun and Snoot.
Not bad. I picked Todd and Snoot. I like the all European team.
So you're picking Todd over Sun.
Yeah.
I can see where you're going with that. Like I don't really know. Let's say like I like cheering for the underdog.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's one way to put it. You get bonus points if they win.
Pretty much. Either way, guys, of course, WCS America is going to be awesome today. It seems like both of our players are almost ready as well. So let's just take a look. Who is going to be our first match? You guys already saw it before. It's going to be our Chinese Protoss player, Jim, against our Korean Zerg animal monster beast, HyuN.
Yeah, it's funny to compare these two when we talk about results. Jim has shown some decent results in WCS America, competing quite heavily over the course of 2013, but he's not that player that we see at other tournaments as much. He's not that player that I've seen in any of the online cups that I've managed to watch or commentate. HyuN, we just kind of went over. It's probably impossible to actually list everything he's done without forgetting at least one or two tournaments.
Yeah, as we said before, HyuN just entered so many tournaments. It's always a pleasure to watch him play as well, especially after the drama that he went through. You know, it's hard to imagine because like 2013 felt like a really successful year for HyuN as he waited to a lot of tournaments. He finally won his first major tournament as well, and above all, he just had a lot of deep runs. But then he went through that drama with Quantic. Of course, we don't want to go too much over that because it feels like it's in the past and that's where it belongs. Because HyuN has done nothing but amazing stuff so far in 2014. He's been the runner-up of a couple of tournaments. He's been winning WCS America Season 1 2014. Yes, he is our reigning champion. And then he's going to go up against one of my favorite Protoss players in the world. And, you know, we already addressed this a little bit. We touched on this subject. If HyuN or Jaedong doesn't make it out of the group, I think that's surprising. But Jim is dangerous against Zerg.
Yeah, everybody in this group is very dangerous, and we are, as you can see, guys, loaded in to the first map of today's WCS America festivities. Spawning in the bottom right location, we have our blue Protoss player, the Chinese player from Invictus Gaming, otherwise known as Jim. Or as you would call him, Roddy, Jim Credible.
He's pretty Jim Credible. Look at that Nexus. Look at that flag. I love flags.
It's the little things. It's the little things. His opponent in the top left position, the Korean Zerg player, currently playing for Team RoCap. It is HyuN, our reigning champion for WCS America, otherwise known as Spider HyuN to his hardcore followers.
Yeah, I wonder how Czech feels about this, representing Wei Spider. Like, hey, what is this Spider HyuN about? I'm Spider Czech. Of course, Czech yesterday made it to the round of 16. I think it's going to be really exciting to follow his journey. I've compared him with HyuN in the past, maybe not necessarily because of playstyle, but just because of story, you know, the way that their career is unfolding. I think that's super interesting to follow.
Yeah,
Either way,
have a Spider off in the round of 16.
Oh, I saw what you did there. We see the pylon go down on the low ground, and we also see Jim wiping in a Forge at 12 or 13 supply. This doesn't mean that Jim is going to go all out and build 4 pylons and cannons, but this does mean that it's possible, especially with 2 probes on the map, and he is playing against Hedge first. Nate, we're not going to wait a long time to get our feet wet today.
This is such a smart play by Jim, though. If you study HyuN, like, there's so many of his games out that you can watch. If you want to punish a hatch first, HyuN loves going hatchery first. There's the first pylon on the high ground for Jim, and the drone will immediately see this. 2 pylons.
Oh, he's walled in.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So he can lock the 2 cannons in, but he should be able to break, I think, maybe even both those pylons, no?
You regenerate very quickly, though. But yeah, you're right. They take a little bit of extra damage so far. The shields are down already, but he can always power these cannons from the low ground as well. So it's going to still take a while. We see more cannons being warped in as well because of that second probe arriving. HyuN realizing, like, hey, this is pretty serious. But I think so far this looks good for HyuN.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, he's going to unpower any cannons that finish. The probe's still alive. At least the second one tries to warp in another pylon on the high ground. So both cannons will complete. I feel like this is one of those situations where you'd like to deny the power, but there's too many pylons warping in to stop it with just drones.
Yep, this one cannon is going to go up, guaranteed. This has been quite an investment so far. Of course, HyuN losing some resources as well. HyuN will not let his hatch finish, which I think is a very smart decision. That hatch would have gone down in the long run. He's trying to get this probe out, or this drone, sorry, out somewhere here in the map. I think it's a much better choice. Taking a look at the income tab right now, it's 17 workers against 16. But of course, you do have to worry about a bunch of cannons in natural.
Yeah, I will say, as there's a spine crawler on the way in that queen, the pylon that's on the high ground should be pretty easy to neutralize, and then taking out the high ground cannon allows him to, you know, just have the high ground vision over the bottom cannon. So this won't be the most difficult breakout, I think, for HyuN. It's just going to take him a little bit of time.
Yep, it's going to take him time. It's annoying, but let's not forget that Jim is not super all in with this. We see his Nexus halfway down. So in the end of the day, Nate, I would definitely say mission accomplished for Jim. It is not like the game-ending cannon rush where so many drones have fallen and it's impossible for HyuN to come back. But what he has successfully done is, like, his Nexus is going up at the same time as this hatchery over here. Already has his gate on the way. HyuN lost some mining time. It's an investment from both sides, but I feel that, you know, Jim did what he did the minimum amount of damage required for his investment. I guess that's the best way to put it.
And I also think it's kind of nice because you look at the worker count, like at this point in the game, you don't get that hatchery first. You can't grind out any worker production. As we can see now that that cannon's unpowered. In the old days, it would still be in Wings of Liberty.
I mean, I was actually not even sure about that. I think even in HUTs it was like this as well. I wasn't even 100% sure if this was going to unpower the cannon. I know that you can't warp in a pylon and then warp in a cannon on the high ground anymore. Like, it doesn't work like that. but I thought that he would. For some reason, I still thought that this cannon was going to be powered, but it's not. This is a little sloppy over here by HyuN. Loses a queen for absolutely no reason, and Jim's still blocking this pylon over here as well. Losing that queen is sloppy though.
Quite tenacious with his blocking of that natural expansion, as his cybernetics core will finish up soon. We see 2 assimilators for Jim, which means that he has an option to go for a little bit of tech if he wants, and he chooses to invest in +1 attack as these drones come down. Actually, I think these drones are going to go take to the 3rd base. I'm not sure if that cannon picked anything off, but that's frustrating.
Got some hits off, but the cannon already fell by then. So 1 drone was low on HP throughout the entirety. HyuN has only lost a single worker, so he's done a good job with that. But again, losing that queen, I feel, is going to slow him a little bit. It's going to slow his creep spread down. It's just was a little bit unnecessary. 150 minerals lost that he really did not have to lose in this phase in the game. We're taking a look at the other side of the map. We see Jim is researching +1 again. We saw Top do it yesterday, a 7-gate +1 follow-up. Is almost never a bad decision from this point on. But if you do it, then go all out with it, you know? Like, try to do it properly. Does he have any probes on the map right now? Taking a look at Jim's vision, and he does not. Yeah, the Zelnaga Watchtower probe, that's about it.
Getting close enough to put a pylon that he wants to get aggressive with might be a little bit more difficult later on. Stalker's going to try to deny this Overlord, but there's not really too much for HyuN's Overlord to see. Aside from where that wall was set up, 3 gateways, the 2 extra ones being built, not really a surprise. HyuN is just freely droning quite heavily while he goes up to a lair tech before getting either Zergling speed or his Roach Horn.
You need to start dropping that Roach Horn pretty much immediately, because he might have to worry about some +1 pressure soon, and we do see that Roach Horn being wiped in. More gateways being wiped in as well. It is going to be 4, 6, 7 gates. And right now it's 6. Right now it's 7, but as you pointed out already as well, HyuN has done a phenomenal 8-gate +1. Okay, well, it's a little crazy. It doesn't really change that much. Some people like 7, some people like 8. Okay, this pylon is gonna go down. Did it Overlord see the probe? No, it did not. But I'd be surprised if we don't see HyuN go absolutely nuts on the Roach production right now. Because if he doesn't do that, he's making a big mistake in my opinion. This is just in the line of expectations. You have a 3-base economy already. Just make those roaches. You know, worst comes to worst, you have 6, 7 roaches. He's still making drones. HyuN needs roaches. He needs them now.
Yes, he does. Lair's about to complete. Roach Warren is finished up, but those gateways, 5 of them about to finish warping in, Kevin. Well, as that Spinecrawler repositions itself, there's not any Zergling speed, so without those roaches, he's not going to have a chance of hitting this army. Just 6 now in production.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to, will Jim give him the time to regroup himself? These 2 queens and the Spinecrawler will actually be sort of a buffer zone for HyuN. 3 queens right now, I really like this. As long as the roaches can group up one time, I think that HyuN is going to be fine. Time warp will go down immediately. Stalker for Jim is not going to be micro. That is the second big warp in. HyuN needs to somehow like not lose this fight decisively, and then he'll be fine.
Yeah, really good job trying to transfuse that Spinecrawler as long as he could. The Zealots are coming in here and soaking up quite a few shots as these queens get picked off, but he also lost the Mothership Core in the midst of all this. No more time warps, no recall, and these Zerglings doing their best. +1 attack is complete for Jim.
Like HyuN is doing a good job right now. He just wants to make sure he doesn't give up a very good position. That makes it hard for him to regroup his units and collect the reinforcements. A few roaches are about to hatch over here. Those will most likely get picked up immediately. Jim is going for the hatch instead, but killing this hatch alone is not good enough. He needs to kill the army, because right now the worker count is still in favor of HyuN, and tag-wise Jim has nothing to fall back on. Doesn't even have the Mothership Core. He's stepping very far on creep. I think that Jim is making a mistake over here. I think he's going to lose a lot of his Stalkers.
Drones are pulled. Get the surround on these forces as the roaches and Zerglings come in from multiple directions. And you said it, there's pylons so far away. Reinforcing is but a pipe dream for our Protoss player. And I mean, these roaches are getting as much damage as they possibly could want in this situation. Roach speed being complete allows them to reposition very quickly. Now that the Zealots are gone, these roaches get right onto the Stalkers, and this Protoss army gets just swallowed whole.
Yeah, but I guess in the end, this was still good enough. Like, the only way that you can ever be okay with this is if you deal a tremendous amount of economic damage. And Nate, with only 23 drones remaining and only 2 base as well, that is actually justified damage. So despite losing all these Stalkers, losing all these gates, and having no follow-up tech at home, this was still good enough. This is one of those rare scenarios where your 7-gate +1, despite not winning the game, or 8-gate +1 it was, is still successful. And Jim putting himself in a good position over here in game 1.
Yeah, very nice kill. 34 drones with that push.
Wow.
And the roaches for HyuN would love to do some counter pressure, but that's not really a realistic option, as he has quite a bit of defensive setup here. With his cannon and sentry, that's not, you don't need too much more.
Nope, he should be more than fine. He's getting the Robo right now. That's really smart. He could even get a Twilight too if he wants to, as he's mining off all his simulators right now. Basically just getting a few Immortals and then maybe Blink Stalker, so he won't be running around all the time. One Roach is going too far in the end. He will pick off one of these gates, but not really that important for Jim, as he still has 7 other gates to work with.
He's got quite a bit of, I like that. He's got quite a bit more gateways. Isn't just one's not going to hurt him too much. Burrow is on the way for HyuN.
Few Zealots could
attack.
be really annoying, but
yeah, he does still have that pylon on the south end, so big threat potential there as the Immortal production is rolling along quite smoothly. You imagine Jim powers up for another attacker. Okay, third base, it makes sense.
Yeah, but I think he's still going to attack. I think this is more like I'm going to do both. These Roaches are actually going to be able to cancel this Nexus immediately. They should have enough burst damage. There you go. But like Jim is not building probes, and while I say that he is, so maybe he is gonna macro up. Like, it wouldn't be a wrong decision at all. But I think an in between going for a macro game but still putting on pressure is the best decision, because HyuN is gonna have to choose either way. He has to make drones or units.
Yeah, Hydralisk then is on the way for HyuN, so we've got a little bit more of a well-rounded army that can help deal with this Immortals setup. But the Twilight Council is coming in, so we'll see some additional attack upgrades most likely for our Protoss player. HyuN's Roach is waiting for an opportunity to get some damage done. Of course, when burrowed, they regenerate their health faster than almost any other unit in the game. As
probably faster than any unit in the game, no?
Yeah, I think so. Especially once you get the burrow move upgrade.
Yeah, it's so sick. Twilight Council is going down. I think that's very smart, because it's pretty obvious that HyuN, most likely with all the economic damage that he took, whenever Jim decides to move out, HyuN wants to pull him back, wants to spread him apart, you know, be annoying and try to buy time for himself with these Roaches. So obviously the best thing that you can have against that is Blink, because Blink is just the most mobile thing. Maybe a few Phoenixes would be nice, but that's not a realistic option in this phase in the game with the economies and the tech that we have out there. Jim lagging a little bit. This could be really unfortunate, as we're just gonna see how this one plans out. Worst comes to worst, I guess we could always go for a recover game. But maybe it's just a lag spike. Unfortunate, because I still think Jim is in a very good position.
Yeah, I mean, in that position, the last thing that we saw, you know, getting a force field, picking off a few Roaches, but most importantly, keeping his third base intact. That's right about to complete. And because he has the Robo-Tech, those Burrow Roaches might not have too much of an opportunity to actually get some damage done. It looks like we are back into the game as he shoos that Roach squad away.
Which I'm very happy about. Saves us a little bit of a headache over here, Nate. We see the invitation bit being wiped in. Of course, morphed in, excuse me. Of course, this is not game over yet for HyuN either. Let's not forget. +2 is on the way, even a little bit ahead of the +2 from Jim. And above all, the Hydralisk production is rolling out. If Jim somehow overcommits with only Stalkers and Immortals, but just doesn't have the right numbers, he could still lose this game. It's very realistic, even that happens. HyuN right now sitting on good creep spread, 70 workers as well. This overseer is going to find this observer. Oh, look at Jim's awareness. Immediately pulls that observer away. Well done. I would have lost that observer 10 out of 10 times.
Well, he's going to need to help clean up this creep as he starts to push forward with 3 Immortals. Those Roaches coming in towards the third base. There's 3 Photon Cannons here to defend, but those will die pretty damn quickly.
This is a really dangerous move by Jim. He's going to ignore these Roaches for now. These Roaches will represent a lot of damage. There is a sentry over here. I think that HyuN is making a mistake. I think he should have gone for the cannon. Oh, Tunnel and Claws, of course. He can just ignore this force field. So he's going to burrow his way under it. He's going to pick up the sentry, pick up the cannon. There is one Immortal in the mix, though. This Immortal right now. Oh, you the real MVP.
Yeah, he does not have an observer over there, though. So these Roaches burrow. They're moving under the Immortal, trying to get it. No luck just yet, as that third base of HyuN gets obliterated by this very powerful Protoss army, and all of the drones being brought forward, but the force field will separate those from the rest of the army. Gets one of the Immortals up front, though, quite nicely. And there's Roaches in every base of Jim during all of this.
Yeah, this is a good fight for HyuN. I think these Hydras up the high ground, almost impossible to engage into. We can see a lot of these sentries are falling. Jim, this is not a fight you want to take. He also lost the Mothership Core during all this, so he can't recall out. And these few Roaches from HyuN are just picking Jim apart right now. How many probes have fallen? 53! Are you kidding? No, sorry, 39 still. Just as bad, 40.
Just as bad as one way to put it. His Roaches in every base of Jim, desperately trying to clean these guys up. He still has not built a second observer. That's the only one he has. It was the one that he had over by HyuN's base that got picked off. And GG is called. HyuN takes game number 1 after a game that started with a pretty interesting setup for a cannon rush.
That was a little bit of a throw by Jim. I really think that if Jim would have just played it out more calm and more methodical, he would have been fine. If he just waits until Blink is ready, or like he was getting his cannons, he was aware of what HyuN was going to try to do, but he still wasn't ready to deal with it. Perhaps didn't expect tunneling claws. But he could have handled that a little better, and he definitely overcommitted. You know, after he was taking out that base and he killed a bunch of those drones, it's just like, Jim, you can't run up a small ramp like that against drones, Hydras, and Queens. As serious as science, those drones are actually pretty good against Stalkers and Immortals, because it takes a while before Stalkers and Immortals kill workers. And when you have those Hydras just spitting out all the damage behind those drones, you can't attack into that.
No.
And Jim losing so many units, and then also losing everything at home, is just... out of things looking quite okay for Jim, it's suddenly game over.
Yeah, really great control by HyuN, showing his champion caliber play with just, you know, being so far behind and finding a way to recover and bring that game back. HyuN he's a scary guy to play against. And Habitation Station being the second map, I'm wondering if this is, you know, is Jim going to have to pull something crazier out of his sleeves?
Could be, even though that Frost game was already quite crazy. A Zerg player losing his third hatch and then losing the majority of his drones in the natural as well, being left with only 22 workers on 2 bases. Like, if you have 3 hatcheries and you have a lot of freedom, then you could just say, like, okay, you know, I can see that maybe he's still able to bounce back, because we all know how quickly Zerg is able to produce drones of 3 bases, but it was only 2 hatcheries. So it was really a remarkable comeback by HyuN. Then again, I still think that Jim threw it a little bit. Like the 3rd base, I don't mind it, but what I think would have been a much better decision is if he only makes the robotics facility, make 2 Immortals, bunch of sentries, make like 2-3 cannons defensively at home, leave a sentry behind, and then a Warp Prism and Observer, and just march across the map on 2 bases.
Yeah,
because
I was going to ask if you thought giving HyuN time to recover would be a good idea. He is so hard to kill.
Yeah, Jim should have showed a little more killer instinct over there. He tried to play it, you know, perhaps safer in a way by saying, like, okay, I'm in a good position. If I macro from this point on, it should be fine. But in the end, he still committed very heavily to what was basically a 2-base attack, because he didn't really gain anything of that 3rd base. If anything, it slowed him down because he had to warp in a lot of cannons and stuff. Yeah,
I had to make a huge investment to get that to work. Of course, he is down 1 map in this series. Our blue Protoss in the top left from Invictus Gaming. It is Jim bringing out the cannons in our first map, but this map we've seen some crazy builds as well, mostly from Protoss players. I recall on this map. His opponent in the top right, WCS America Season 1 champion, would love to go straight to the winner's match, and his record shows he would probably get straight out of the group from Rocat. It is HyuN.
I love these little flags. I've always thought flags are awesome. You know, in the old days, in Warcraft 3 days, SK Gaming was like the hottest forum out there, and everyone always had really cool flags. And then one day they changed their flags layout, and I was really sad because their flags were more pixely.
I don't know too much about the in-game flag meta.
It's important, Nate. Flags are powerful.
Flags are powerful.
We see a drone scout over here by HyuN, and he is going to see that it's once again going to be 12/13 forge for Jim. So I'd be surprised if HyuN doesn't throw down the spawning pool in his main base soon. No, don't waste the 5 minutes, HyuN. I would never do that. I would always send that drone back to deliver the 5 minerals.
You know, I always wonder, like, if you kill the drone holding the 5 minerals, should it register in the resources lost tab as losing 45 resources? Like, is that spawning pool worth 205 minerals now? Or I guess 255 with the drone cost?
Yeah, it should be 5 resources lost.
Yeah. It pretty much is. Pylon blocking HyuN as well as this probe slips on into the main base of our Zerg player. And he's like, okay, you are building a spawning pool. Not an ideal setup for cannons, but he might need to build one back home before he gets his Nexus up.
We see the hatchery go down at the gold base instead. I don't really like this pylon block by Jim. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything with it. I don't think that HyuN is going to overreact one way or the other, because, you know, he's not worried about that pylon right now. He's getting his gold base. Jim can't really cannon this anymore. If you ask me, this is a waste of 100 resources that I think he could have spent better at home. We'll see. Not the end of the world, of course, but I just think a little unnecessary, which doesn't really achieve a whole lot. Because, like, in the end of the day, like, this pylon is going to fall within 15 seconds, and then you still have 3 hatcheries going up before the 4-minute mark, which is like exactly what you're trying to prevent.
Yeah, pretty interesting to see how he's going to carry this out. Well, I wonder what goes through your mind, because when I talk to Zerg players on this map especially, they're like, well, this is one of the best maps if you're pylon block, because the gold base is right there to take.
Yeah, I would rather pylon block the gold base. Like that I can understand.
Preemptively. It's like, I don't know if you were planning on taking this, but let's just make sure you can't.
And then wiping the gateway as well, you know, just to make sure that it's extra hard to take it out. Like if you want to ever take the gold, then you're gonna have to take out my pylon and my gate. It's a lot of HP. And if he ignores it, you know, then you still have that pylon there.
Well, I mean, I think the income tab is going to reflect very quickly how much impact this gold base has in the early phase of the game. As it's quite nice. He has a couple less workers than his opponent, but you know, maintains a very healthy economy once he gets saturated on this base.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
It's like mules, man.
Going up to almost 1,000 minerals a minute right now already whenever the drones are bringing those mineral patches back. And of course, from this point on, it's just going to be a drone festival. So what is Jim going to do? What does Jim have to do from this point? Nate, I'm always not completely sure, because there are Protoss players who really don't sweat that gold base that much. And of course, Zerg players often make, did I say Zerg? I meant Protoss, of course. Zerg players often make a few more units because this base is very close to the Protoss base. So they will be required to spend a few more resources than they normally would in a certain phase in the game, because they're worried about losing that base. I think that Jim is, okay, maybe an Immortal Sentry follow-up. Well, then it's just gonna all come down to execution. There really isn't anything more to it.
Yeah, it's not a bad choice, because you have that outstretched area. There's only one plane that the Zerg units usually go from the natural to where that gold is. But there's also, I think War Prism isn't too bad, because you can bounce between the gold base and the main depending on where the army is. No?
Yeah, possible, but very risky. I mean, if you're trying to go for like some sort of a wall off, you mean, like trying to force field this ramp off or the main ramp?
Maybe something crazy.
Yeah, it's possible, but it's also super risky, because if that doesn't work, then you're still playing as a 3-base Zerg player, which, you know, one of them is a gold base. So I think this is just going to be a straight-up Immortal Sentry attack. I don't mind it that much, because of course it's going to hit really quickly. Once again, this Zerg base is very close to the Protoss base, but it all comes down to execution. I'm sure that HyuN has played this out many times. I'm sure that he's familiar with Immortal Sentry on this map, especially when he decided to take the gold base. So we'll see what he sets up. It's all going to come down to army positioning and then the force fields.
Yeah. All right, well, Lair is coming in for HyuN. He's getting his Roach Horn and Zergling speed. HyuN really likes to get his Zergling speed late. Like, he never gets it in the early phase for defense. He always gets it for whatever his mid-game aggression is going to be. He's very... yeah. Oh, second Immortal's coming out. A little bit slower, waiting for some pylons to finish.
Actually, like 15 seconds is a pretty big deal. Now we see a Robo Bay go... No. Yeah. We do see a Robo Bay going on, so it's not really going to be an Immortal Sentry all-in. It's going to be a pseudo Immortal Sentry all-in with a follow-up. Do we have a Mothership Core? We don't have a Mothership Core. And that is kind of interesting. He's giving HyuN the idea that, hey, this is going to be an Immortal Sentry. I think he's just going to make a single Colossus, maybe without Thermal Lens. That is kind of what I'm feeling over here, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's got a third Immortal queued up behind all of this. Hallucinated Phoenix Scout runs into the base of HyuN, sees that the lair is in fact complete. And there's not too much more for him to see, to be honest. Just that wiggling Roach Horn as he gets the speed upgrade, and no Hydralisk Den, no Infestation Pit, and, you know, also no Evolution Chambers ready.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is not the type of the game where you want to get Evo Chambers, because you know that he's going to hit big, he's going to sit on 2 bases. But this is kind of what I said earlier. When the Zerg player takes his gold base, of course it's awesome, but you're also always worried about that attack hitting so quick and being around the corner. So of 52 or 53 workers, they are already producing a crazy amount of units. Right now we have our first Colossus on the way, no Thermal Lens being researched just yet, so maybe I will spot on when it comes to that. I kind of like this. I like this more than the standard Immortal Sentry, because it's going to hit a little later, but you know, HyuN is still going to spend all of his money already anyways, because he's like thinking it's a standard Immortal Sentry, because that's what he scouted, and that is what's supposed to happen. Very curious to see how this is going to unfold. Hydras are obviously not an option, and Roaches, well, you know.
There's 3 Immortals.
Yeah. Sure, if the force fields are bad by Jim, if he messes up one way or the other, then these Roaches can take care of these Immortals. But if the force fields are good, we all know what terrible, terrible things Immortals do to Roaches.
Now he's got a War Prism on the way behind all of this to help reinforce as he steps towards the Xel'Naga Watchtower. Most of this Zerg army has been put south of it. There's quite a few Queens with this army as well.
No Observer yet. I'm a little bit surprised by that. He's going for the Prism before the Observer. I think I would have preferred to get the Observer first, but that's just me.
Yeah, stepping onto that creep is so risky. He actually finds the Roach Force coming in. Yeah, he's got such a good position. Not enough force fields to block all of this surface area. And this, I mean, he's just going to pick everything up. The Queen's targeting down the Colossus. That's destroyed. These Immortals are still fighting strong, but the first one's about to get destroyed. Time Warp is cast as the Mothership Core dies, and you know, for all the volleys these Immortals are able to get off in the Warp Prism micro he's trying to do, this attack has been completely swapped down.
Yep, just way too wide in the open over there by Jim. This was literally the worst. But the Warp Prism is going to fall as well with the Immortals, but I guess it didn't really change that much. GG is called. HyuN is going to take the first series of the day pretty convincingly with a 2-0 victory. But yeah, if you would have asked HyuN, it's like, hey HyuN, you're going to play against the 2-base attack on Habitation Station. Where would you like to fight? I think HyuN would have said like, well, it would be really nice if he positions his army like in that middle area in the only open space on Habitation Station, so I can just like 360 surround him.
Yeah.
I would like that. I think that's what HyuN would say.
I mean, look at this positioning. He was able, like, even if you have good force fields, when you're in the open and there's no walls next to you, that surround is so easy to get, and you're facing HyuN. He's not going to miss an opportunity like this. And I mean, that's just showing the champion caliber play that we expect from him, being the Season 1 champion. Jim, the rough series.
Yeah, definitely a rough series for Jim. Of course, momentum always important as well. In that first game, that was kind of Jim's game. Even after that filled 7 gate, it wasn't really filled because the Zerg play was left in 22 workers and only 2 bases. So that was kind of his game to lose. And then the second game, I liked it. You know, hit a little later, but have a Colossus in the mix. So these, like the follow-up of like the reinforcement Zerglings, or maybe if you rush up to Hydras, it's suddenly not all that scary anymore because one Colossus makes such a big difference. While the Zerg player is already pumping out so many units. And 24 Roaches, of course, the Zerg is going to have a few more units. Looks really scary. But if he's just the Zelnaga Watchtower, we've seen it so many times. 3 force fields is enough to cut an army in half.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you dance around in the middle of the map, roaches come from every angle.
That's true.
Habitation Station is dark and full of roaches, at least in the middle. Either way, we're going to head over to a very small commercial break, and after that we'll be back with our second series of the day. Are you guys ready to see Jaedong in action? I sure am. I know Nate is ready as well. He's going to go up against Axiom's Heart, a very exciting Terran player, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.